here. And let's see how this works. Okay, so if I hit refresh now you can see we have this node list. So this looks a lot like an array. It's a collection, and we have these indices here. So the first one is just text. We don't want that one. So what we want is to grab that element, the portfolio item background. It had an index of 1. So what I can do here is, let me just get rid of this. I'm going to say portfolio item dot child nodes. I want to grab that one with the index of 1, and then I want the class list. So I'm going to say class list. Okay, and this will be the last console log we do in a while, I promise. But the other thing I did promise you at the very beginning of this tutorial is I'd walk through my exact process, and this is exactly what I would do. So if I were asked to build this kind of thing out, I would walk through all of these steps where I would console log constantly, I would run the debugger like this, and I would be able to see all the values that are there, because as long as I know the values, I will not get stuck. I've been doing this for a long time, and one of the biggest challenges that I found is when I don't know enough about the data, that is when I run into bugs. So I try to always make sure that I'm listening to the data and what it's telling me. So let's come to the console here. Now if we hover over, you can see we have this DOM token list. Now we have that portfolio image background, and we have the value of it. So notice how we've kind of traversed this entire element. We first started off with grabbing all of them. Then we narrowed it down. We filtered it down until we got the exact div we wanted. And then from there, we filtered it down even more. And we said, just, you know what, just give me the class list. And so now that we have all of that, let's actually just take all of that. I'll keep that console log just in case we want to see anything else. Now I'm going to say class list dot add. And now this is where we finally get to call that image darken class. So here I can say image darken. And so now let's hit refresh. And look at that. Now that is working. Now when we're hovering over these, it is actually making that happen. So that is fantastic. Now you may notice that it's acting a little tricky because, why? Because these images are staying dark. Well, that is because we need to add one more event listener. So I'm just going to copy this and come here. And this time, instead of adding event listener mouse over, I'm going to say mouse out, just like that. And I'm going to remove all these console log statements. And now instead of class list add, I'm going to say remove. Hit save. Now if you come back here, hit refresh, now you can see that when you mouse out, now it is doing exactly what we're looking to do, that it fades in, goes out as you're navigating all around the page. So this is working beautifully. Very nice job if you went through that, because now you not only know how to work with animations and all kinds of styles like that and to create your layouts, you also now know how to traverse the entire DOM, all of these HTML nodes here, and to apply dynamic styles based on the user behavior. So very good job with that. We only have one very small piece left and we're going to be done. Let's switch over to the About page. And now let's jump into the text editor and we're going to actually build this out. Now, as you may have noticed, we have a lot of content here, and with the way that just vanilla HTML CSS sites work is, in order to get this on the other page, we're actually going to have to copy and paste this. Now, if you are working on a larger application that uses a framework such as Ruby on Rails or React or Vue or something like that, then what you'll see is that you don't have to copy and paste this. You simply will have one shared layout or multiple layouts for the application, and then you will dynamically update the content inside of it. So this isn't something you'd have to do if you're working with a framework, but because we're not, we do have to do this. So I'm going to first come here and I'm just going to clear all this out, because if not, then we would run the risk of having two versions of HTML in there, which would be a little tricky. So now let's just copy and paste this, and then we'll remove everything we don't need, which is the majority of it. So here we'll change the title to About, and we still want the style reference, and we want the nav, the home, the about, and all that kind of good stuff. And then we also want to have the container. So that container was there at the top, and we want the content wrapper. So we want that. I'm going to get rid of everything else for the portfolio items wrapper. We don't want that, and we don't need that JavaScript. So I'll delete that. Hit save, and now we are good to go. So let's come back here, hit refresh, and you can see that this is working. We have the home and about links. Now we have this nav bar, and we can start adding what we need in this page. So this is our last element. So inside of here, I'm going to create a class, and I'm going to call this one something a little more generic, because if you're building this out for an application that may have all kinds of pages, then you don't want to do something like call this the About Us page or something, because then it'd be weird if you wanted a 2-column layout for your contact page or something. So here I'm going to say 2-column wrapper, just like this. And then inside of here, I want to have the profile image. And let's take a look at this, just so I don't forget anything. So we want to have the profile image here, and then on the right-hand side, we want to have that content. So we want to have then one class, then we'll just call this profile image wrapper. And then inside of here, we're going to have an image, but I'm going to wait on adding that until I've added the full structure. And then, so right below profile image wrapper, let's have the dot profile content wrapper. And that's where we're going to add the content. And for the sake of this, obviously you're going to have your own content that you'll put in there. But for mine, I'll just copy mine over. So we have a image. If you look through the image directory, and if you go all the way down the bottom, you see we have this profile image. So we can call that. So I'll say image, and the source is going to be images profile.jpg. You don't need an alt tag for this. And now inside of here, we're going to have our one heading and 2 paragraph tags. Now, we haven't dealt with paragraph tags yet, but what they do is pretty self-explanatory. They just give you paragraphs. They're a way of segmenting different pieces of content. We did see an H1 tag before, so that one is going to be relatively familiar. I'm just going to copy this over, and then inside of here, I'll just paste all of this in. And let's give us a little bit more room. Feeling a little scrunched here. So I'll say H1, and then make sure that you close off your H1 tag. And now with the paragraph, it's the same thing. So you're going to have a paragraph, make sure you close it off, and then place that code inside of it. At the very end, close off that paragraph tag, and then we'll do the same thing here. Okay, so now if I hit save, let's go and see what we're dealing with now. So if I hit refresh, you can see, okay, kind of, but not really. So we have the image, but it's taking up a lot of space. And this is the size of the image. This is the actual size that we have. And then we have this below it. So this obviously needs a few styles. So let's go and add those. I'm going to come down here at the very bottom, and we're going to add in a comment. This is going to say the about page styles. So now what we can do is let's add in the styles for that 2-column wrapper first. So 2-column wrapper. This is going to use grid.